In 1973, muscle cars were gasping for air. New regulations, a changing market, and corporate indifference were crushing the horsepower rebellion of the 60s. But in the middle of that slow-motion collapse, Oldsmobile did something wild. They released the 442 W30. It wasn't just a car. It was a statement, a mechanical middle finger to conformity. Today, we're diving into how the 1973 Oldsmobile 442 W30 fought for survival when everything else was giving up. If you think muscle cars ended in 1970, think again. Before the decline, there was domination. Back in the late 60s, the 442 wasn't just another muscle car. It was a street legend, originally standing for barrel carb, for speed manual, and dual exhaust. The 442 meant serious business. It was Oldsmobile's answer to Pontiac's GTO and Chevrolet's Chevelle SS. But what set the 442 apart was its balance. While others focused on pure power, the 442 combined brutal torque with surprising finesse. When the W30 performance package debuted, it turned the 442 into a weapon. Think fiberglass hood scoops, a cold air induction system, a roaring 455 Ci V8, and 370 horsepower that could snap necks and smoke tires. It was elegant brutality. But as the 70s crept in, the storm clouds gathered. Insurance premiums shot up, emissions rules tightened, and America began trading in speed for safety. Still, the 442 remained a symbol of resistance, until 1973 changed everything. When looks changed, loyal fans were stunned. When the 1973 442 hit the streets, fans barely recognized it. Gone was the sleek, fastback styling. In its place, the new Colonnade body. It was wider, heavier, and loaded with safety features. Federal crash standards demanded 5 miles per hour bumpers and reinforced roofs. The result? A car that looked more like a tank than a street racer. The once aggressive stance was softened. Thick roof pillars ruined visibility. Enthusiasts were disappointed. It looked like the muscle car had sold out. But here's the twist. Underneath all that extra steel and chrome, the W30 package still breathed fire. You had to look past the corporate styling. You had to understand that this wasn't a car for casual buyers. It was a car for true believers. A sleeper, wrapped in safety foam, that still packed a punch. Don't let the numbers fool you. This car could still throw down. The 1973 W30 was shackled by the times. Emissions laws forced Oldsmobile to detune the engine. The high-compression 455 from earlier years was now set up for unleaded fuel. On paper, it made just 270 horsepower. But here's the catch. That was in net horsepower, a new rating that sounded weaker but was more realistic. In gross numbers, it still made over 300 horsepower. More importantly, torque remained monstrous, around 370 lb-ft, and in the real world, torque is king. It meant that when you mashed the throttle, the car still shoved you back in your seat. The W30 also had upgraded cams, a better carb, special exhaust manifolds, and a functional twin-scoop hood. It wasn't just badging, it was engineering. Sure, it was heavier, slower off the line, but it had soul, and that's something horsepower numbers can't measure. What happens when even the factory forgets your name? The saddest part? GM barely marketed the 1973 W30. By this time, the 442 wasn't even its own model. It was an option package on the Cutlass S, and the W30 was an option within that. No billboards, no glossy magazine ads, no hype, just a small checkmark on a dealer's order sheet. And that meant only the diehard fans even knew it existed. Estimates suggest fewer than 1,100 W30s were built that year, and very few had manual transmissions. That's staggeringly rare. Oldsmobile, like much of Detroit, was shifting focus to personal luxury. The muscle car had become a footnote. But for those who looked closely, the 1973 W30 was still out there, low, loud, and proud. A dinosaur that hadn't noticed the comet yet. Today, it's more than just steel and horsepower, it's history on wheels. Today, the 1973 442 W30 is more than a car, it's a symbol. It's the final breath of the muscle car era before the lights went out. Collectors seek it not because it's the fastest or the prettiest, but because it's a survivor. It represents a time when automakers still dared to offer real performance, even as the rules closed in. Every 1973 W30 is a rolling protest, a reminder that passion can exist even in the face of regulation, downsizing, and change. It's imperfect, it's heavy, it's flawed, but that's exactly why it matters. The muscle car didn't die in 1973, it went underground, and the 442W30 was one of the last warriors standing. The 1973 Oldsmobile 442W30 wasn't supposed to happen. It defied logic, corporate indifference, and a market that had moved on. And yet, it did happen. It roared into a world that no longer wanted it, and left behind a legacy that still resonates today. In an era of hybrids and regulations, we can look back at the W30 and remember what it meant to fight for performance. It wasn't just a car, it was defiance. Built in Lansing, Michigan,